What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 87 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV, and joining me tonight are Fishstix and Flame. No ZP, no Doomfist. Unfortunately, nothing tonight in terms of that, but we should have a fun night anyways. What's up, guys?
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
Good.
I was only off for 1 week. I missed last week's episode, but it feels like it's been an eternity because we had Overwatch Preseason happen. My life has been absolutely insane. Doug Jones won in Alabama. Net neutrality is dead.
Oh
I don't know
my
what's
God.
happening anymore.
Bitcoins are going crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Bitcoin, like, oh my God.
It is definitely nuts.
I
right
can't
now.
keep up.
That's right. Like we haven't even talked to you about a single match yet in preseason. It's like definitely nuts. Flame, how about you, man? I'm sure your life's been crazy.
I feel like I haven't existed for like the past month and a half. It feels
Yeah.
like it feels like I got back from BlizzCon and then I just disappeared, and that's kind of how I've felt this whole time.
Yeah. Okay. So the OWL is just like another universe, another dimension type of thing.
It really is. I mean, talk about it, but it is it's like a different world.
Like
This is your life now.
Yeah, no, this is your life. It's gonna be cool. Well, one thing that was cool that actually came in today. My order came in today was we got the merch, the OWL merch, and I'm representing tonight. Representing the obviously the Outlaws tonight, given that they have a Longhorn. I can't pass that up for sure. So everybody that ordered on the first day will probably be getting their shipments today. I'm imagining. So
People got their stuff super fast.
Really? Well, I didn't get the 2-day
fast.
shipping thing. I think I got the 7 to 10 day shipping. It wasn't in a big rush, but it got it just in time at least for this show.
Just in time to chill.
That's right, man. That's right. But tonight we've got a lot to talk about. We've got a new event, Winter Wonderland. We might have touched on it last time, I think maybe. But it's full out right now, and we can really talk about just the different skins and all that good stuff like we always do. And then the Yeti hunt, which is cool, as well as some updates too. That there's actually been some changes to the actual game too. And then we'll catch up with Flame, just how everything's going, of course. And then preseason Overwatch League. We're just going to do a recap of it. Just, what's everybody's take on just wherever everything lines up. I mean, maybe we can do our post preseason kind of rankings versus our pre-preseason rankings and kind of compare it. But definitely going to talk a lot about that. I've got a cool topic of the week too about that pertains to casting. And then we got a couple questions from folks. If you have any questions that you want us to read out, go ahead and email those to the overview@chanmanv.tv. and we will get to them. But I do want to mention before we start also that this episode is sponsored by Freshly, and we'll definitely be talking a lot about Freshly, which is a meal service very, very soon, but definitely want to mention that in the beginning. But Winter Wonderland, guys. So it's that time of year. This is the holiday event, which has been one of the best in the past, or at least it's always one of my favorite ones. So this year, there wasn't that many skins and stuff. They added how many skins? Maybe 4 skins, or maybe it was 4 or 6. Actually, let me bring up the page. But there was only one extra emote and 1 extra intro. But I don't know. It didn't seem like too much.
We did get Walrus Roadhog though.
Yes, I mean the skins are awesome. Don't get me wrong. Everything that they gave us was pretty awesome, but it just didn't seem like a ton this time around. Okay, the Walrus. All right, here we go. This is right here.
There's some good stuff in here. I like it.
Definitely. Flame, what's your favorite? Who's your favorite?
I think the only one I got out of boxes was the Walrus. I think it was the Walrus, and the summer one's okay, but it feels a little gimmicky. I don't know.
Yeah, this one, right? Like the ducky Junkrat.
Oh, yeah.
Beach Rat.
Beach Rat, that's what it's called. Kind of weird having Beach Rat come out
I think
in the snow.
Snow Owl is pretty cool.
Yeah, the animal one.
I'm actually surprised. The skins I ended up liking the most out of this set are less of the comical ones and more of the actually badass ones. I actually think Sombra looks pretty badass. And so does 76. 76 is like a full-on cyborg, crazy-ass robo dude. Looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, this full-out, Alpine. Yeah, he almost looks like a robot. Yeah, that's true. What do you think of the casual Hanzo? Oh, man, there's going to be some super memes on this one, man. Look at that.
It's kind of weird. I don't know. Just Hanzo with a hoodie.
I kind of like it, as stupid as it sounds. I don't know why, but I do. It's like the most normal looking thing ever, but I don't know. On Hanzo, it actually works for me. What's the Bastion supposed to be? Like I don't get it. Like
It's just like ski bum Bastion. I don't know. Like
it's called Avalanche, but I don't get it, man.
He's got a beanie.
Yeah.
You know what? He looks like a transformer that could transform into a
Snowmobile or something.
Yeah. Snowmobile. Yeah, that's
Okay,
what. That's
okay.
what.
Yeah,
I think that's
all
what they're going for.
right, all right. I can see that maybe. All right. See, emote wise, we just got the snowball one, which is, I love Reinhardt, but this it's all right. It's not. I wouldn't say it's the best, but of course I'm gonna get it. But the emote is probably one of the best. The emote, my son, like the first day he saw, he's like, no matter what, I'm buying this. If I don't get it, like by the end of the holiday, like no matter what, I'm getting this one. So this is definitely a cute one. I never got the Zarya present one, so I'm gonna have to get both of those this time around. But anyways, those are the skins, emotes, and all that good stuff. Fun Winter Wonderland. There's also a new PvE mode, which was not PvE mode actually, just a new mode, which is the Yeti hunt. And I think we might have talked a little bit about it last week, but it's basically Evolve in Overwatch, where you have the Yeti is the monster, like the Winston Yeti is monster, and then you have 5 mates chasing him around trying to kill him. And there's food all over the map. If you get 4 pieces of the meat, you get the ultimate for, I think 30 seconds is about the duration of it. And you just kill people like super fast if you're able to do that. In the meantime, the maze can do everything that Mei does: freeze you, use the wall. The ultimate is a bear trap, this giant bear trap that goes down, kind of like Torbjorn, or not Torbjorn, kind of Junkrat's trap. So, but that's pretty much what it is. It's on Nepal, and I don't know. You guys get a chance to play it at all yet?
I have not. I have not had a chance to play it yet, unfortunately.
I play a little bit. It's like it's fun. I mean, it's just like if your teammates are bad, it's not fun. It's like every other game,
Yeah, when I first started playing it, I thought it was like too easy one way or the other. But then the more I played it, and the more I ended up playing against good players, or maybe just as time went on, right? People just got better at it. The games just became longer and longer. So eventually it was really, really fun. Sometimes it sucks having to wait to be the Yeti though, because you either pick what preference you are in the beginning, and then you just get, whatever is given to you in the end. But yeah, I think it was pretty cool. I think it shows that they could do something with that kind of mode. Evolve obviously didn't end up being super popular. I thought Evolve would be popular. I don't know about you guys, but
I played a lot of Evolve. The game was just shittily priced.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the price though, isn't the game fun though? I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
If you took away the pricing issues, it would have been like one of the best games, I think.
It's so shitty, dude.
I mean,
that is so disappointing for the actual developers.
Yeah,
made such
I felt bad.
Yeah. I wonder if it's still salvageable around. Anyways, the mode, I feel like the mode does work, and yeah, we'll see if they end up keeping that around or not. I haven't played the snowball mode yet. I know that's on like a new map, but I haven't gotten a chance to just the old snowball one. But yeah. Well, anyways, hopefully everybody's having a good time with those modes in the arcade. But some of these updates, Ben, you kind of listed these out that are in the game.
Yeah, we've got a couple updates hitting that actually affect the gameplay of regular ranked. Not a lot. Most of these are very small quality of life changes, but just figured we'd go through them really quickly. First of all, Mei can now cryo freeze and remove the healing debuff from Ana's nade. So an absolutely tiny change, but Mei needs everything she can get right now. Period.
Yeah, so it's a cleanse now, basically.
Yeah,
it's nice. Yeah.
Also, Doomfist. This one I'm actually more excited about. As someone that's been really wanting to play more Doomfist. Doomfist's seismic slam now slides up slopes, which is a tongue tied right there. But yeah, it's also fairly subtle, but also a huge quality of life improvement, because when you're playing as Doomfist and you seismic slam up a staircase or anything like that, you would just get completely stopped in your tracks. You'd lose all your momentum instantly. And it took some game knowledge to know which you could go up, which you couldn't, which distances you could go from. So this definitely is going to be helpful for newer Doomfist players, but even for advanced Doomfist players, just gives you more opportunities to use Seismic Slam. And the side note there is that it also applies to Winston's jump, which I play a lot of Winston too. So this is good for me. No more losing your entire jump because you like accidentally went up a slope.
Right.
Yeah, not hugely consequential either of them, but good quality life changes.
That's good. That's definitely good.
The third one is one that a lot of people have been asking for, and we finally got it. A lot of people are really excited about this. Zenyatta now can see the HP of whoever has the healing orb, the harmony orb, and also the discord orb. So you can see your friendly teammate, how much health they've got. This is something they brought to Mercy way back when you're healing somebody, you can see how much HP they've got. Even if you're not looking directly at them, they've added this to Zenyatta. And now you can also see how much HP their Discord target has. Now, I actually want to ask you guys this, Flame as well, because I was looking through the Reddit threads about this, and there were a bunch of people like, yeah, the healing thing is awesome, but holy shit, that's so OP that Zenyatta can now see the Discord orbs
The
HP.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. And like, more OP abilities for characters seems like a good thing, not a bad thing to me. So I don't know. Do you think that's OP, Flame?
I mean, it's definitely beneficial. It's definitely like not a bad thing, right? I don't know if it's like overpowered. Like Sombra has like that wall hack thing.
Right.
And I mean, it's kind of like if someone's discorded, your teammates should be telling you. Like, I feel like at like low level play, it definitely helps because like if you're the Zenyatta player, you can be like, all right, this guy's low, like go get him or something. But in like pro play, it's more like if someone's discorded, someone on your team is probably already calling for the focus, so it's not such a big buff. But I could definitely see people like getting a little bit of a new advantage that they didn't have before.
I mean, it requires teamwork to really take advantage of. You have to communicate it to your team, otherwise, it doesn't really give anyone a big advantage. So, I like it. I'm fine with it. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
gives Zenyatta some more ability.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, obviously, every once in a while that. They'll be able to charge up, some balls and just catch them right in there coming around a corner or something. Just a little bit more information, but I think it's good. I don't think that's like that big of a deal for Zenyatta, like you said. This GIF isn't this GIF pretty much the same kind of the same thing as just kind of showing the cleansing of it. And then your last thing here, reports resulting in a ban will show up in game now. That's cool. It just reinforces the fact that your actions actually ended up doing something. I wonder how many. How many times
I've made a practice of reporting now. I used to never really report people, but now, if there's ever somebody who's overtly throwing, just absolutely report them every single time. Just do it.
I had someone throwing yesterday, and then like their response was to like call them the N-word, and I was just thinking to myself like, you're asking us to report this guy, and you're just gonna drop that in chat. Like, some people are very destructive.
Wait. The same guy that was throwing, or our guy that was
the guy that was asking for us to report the other guy dropped an N-bomb while asking us to report the guy who was throwing.
Report them both.
I did, but I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is Overwatch, man. Like,
oh my god. Okay.
It was wild.
That's interesting, man. Okay, but yeah, I think reporting is obvious. Use the report tool. That's what it's there for. But I think that's good. I mean, this again, like for the the small percentage of times that reports end up with bans, those people are going to feel like, hey, it actually made a difference, right? And I think that's overall going to help a little bit, in terms of the entire community and just feeling like these reports actually mean something. So that's good for sure. See, another bit of thing outside of the event, that's just kind of the end of the talk about Winter Wonderland, is we did see an update to the whole when you're licensed, just kind of the Blizzard license, in terms of like hosting events and organizing events. So this 2018, they released the details for just all the games. It wasn't even just Overwatch. So I figured we'd take a look at this too, just given that there will be some time that people can try to get in some third-party events in the off season, and that includes the teams too, right? So it's kind of good to at least know what these things are. So prize pool and appearance fees under. So there's a community license and a custom license. The custom license that obviously is like more of a big deal. These are like for giant tournaments. Probably like the Apexes and things like that. But the community license is something that I don't even know if you needed a license before. Like, did you? Like, if you had a tournament that was less than 10,000, did you actually even need a license before?
I believe under 10,000 you did not need any kind of license.
Right.
I think I could be wrong, but
no,
I threw tournaments and didn't get a license.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're gonna need a community license. Like, you're gonna need a license no matter what you do now. So that's different. And to be honest, I think that's more difficult. As long, I guess, if this application process was easy, then it's not a big deal. But I can just see it being a little bit more of a pain than. I mean, it's obviously a more pain than it was. So it's probably gonna be harder for people to start events very, very quickly. But the 10,000 is still there. It's the same thing. The 50,000, I forget if what was the whole Ghosty game one? Was it 50,000 or was it 100,000? It might have been 50,000. No, remember when Ghosty like had to stop because they couldn't, like, I think at some point they weren't going to be able to get a license, right? I think that's what it was, right? Or maybe that wasn't. Like, they had done like enough that they were going to pass that like that high.
I think that was like 10K. I think it was like 10K because the first Ghost is like the first like 10 Ghost tournaments were for $100.
And then like Twitter followers.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
The next 10 were like $500, I think. So I don't know. Yeah.
You don't think? Okay, maybe I was thinking it wrong. But there was an upper limit too, and I know. I thought it was Ghosty that was going to exceed that, and then they just couldn't do anymore, type of thing. But anyways, there's a top end 50,000. So what that means is that you can't go over 50,000 for the year. So you can't have like a series that, that's like 10,000 a piece, and you have a sixth one. You can't do that, right? So, and the tournament name must include community in it. So
it's like quality control stuff.
Yeah. So okay. And then sponsor contributions under 1,000. Okay, what is that?
It means if you're getting any sponsorship whatsoever, you have to get a license, basically, right?
Oh, I see. Like, what? How could you get prize money that's $10,000? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's got to be some sort of sponsor, right? I mean, it's. Even a private sponsor is a sponsor, so. Okay, basically you just need a license, like no matter what. So, all right. Well, anyway, that's good to know. Custom license. I think that this is probably pretty much the same as it was before. Tournament does not need to include community, so that's good, right? But anyways, any people that are looking to maybe do some events, just definitely take a look at this. Start your applications, and like I said before, it's like for all the games too. You can like look at the specifics for any of the others too. Figured that'd be good to take a look at. But at this time, like, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this episode, which is Freshly. And if you go to freshly.com, you can go and order a lot of the different meals that they have. They're a meal service. If you're like, I don't know, maybe some of us, I don't know how you guys are, but if you don't have time to cook like every single night, which I definitely find myself in that situation, even with the family, then Freshly provides these meals that are cooked by professional chefs and designed by nutritionists, and they are cooked and then immediately shipped to you in this cooling package. It's like within 24 hours, so it should get to you like 24 hours, 48 hours, and I mean you'll be eating basically a meal that's pretty fresh if you just pop in. Obviously, you have to pop in in your microwave and still heat it up. But we've gotten a chance to try some out. Ben, I don't know if you got a chance to eat all yours yet.
Yeah, I have. I had a really, really good chicken one. Was the last one I had. It was surprisingly good. Like usually when you get chicken, like packaged chicken, it's usually like rubbery and dry, but it was actually really good. And this is 100% artificial. No preservatives, no refined sugars, no gluten. So maybe you're home for the holidays with your family, or get some of mom's home cooking. Maybe you're home alone. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're not traveling this holiday season, and you need to get some meals to go. You can heat these at any time. It's super convenient, super tasty. Definitely recommend you guys check out Freshly.
Yeah, and again, it's not frozen. They're always fresh. They're 100% natural. No artificial flavors, preservatives, no refined sugars, no gluten, which is a pretty big thing for some folks. And right now, we have a special promo code you can use if you want to save money. You want to actually save $40 and actually spend it on Overwatch merch or whatever. You can go to freshly.com and use the code OverView and get $40 off your first 2 deliveries. I've had
$40.
yeah, $40. That's a lot, man. It's totally a lot. I mean, that's $40 is like a good number of meals on Freshly. So it's definitely great. For me, I've tried the turkey. Let's see, the turkey chili, the Southwest veggie mix, which was really really good. The let's see what else. The meatloaf, which was good, and lastly, I'm trying to remember the last one. Oh, the pasta, the veggie pasta, which was tasty too. So yeah, give those a try. Let us know if you if you end up enjoying it, and give a shout out to Freshly just for sponsoring the show. Okay, Flame. So I feel like it's been forever since you've been on the show, which is like really really weird given that you used to be on all the time. But I know you've been busy, so I kind of want to get caught up with just your life, man. Just how's life in LA right now?
It's a lot. I don't know. It's like it's overwhelming because there's not a lot going on, but at the same time there's so much going on. I don't know. It's like there's no games, we don't have matches, there's no like season for another couple of weeks. Like Christmas is in literally 2 weeks, and like that hasn't really hit me at all. I don't know. It's really hard to like put it all into words. Like every day I wake up, I go to the facility, and like that's like what I do, and then I'm there every day, and that's kind of
it's like a job. That sounds
like a job. Yeah, I mean it is like a job, but it's like it's more demanding because at like my old job, I used to just like sit around and do nothing, and now I like have to pay attention, and like, I mean that sounds like dumb, but
no,
like,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean though. Like I definitely been like working for a big company where it's just like there's dead weight everywhere, and it's just like, yeah, this is not getting anything done. And then once you get into like a different environment, it's like, whoa, okay, this is what it's like to actually work. This is kind of
but it's like it's weird because like before Overwatch was like the part-time, and now Overwatch is the full-time, and then like my real life is the part-time, and like it's really hard to like balance, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, what's your day-to-day like? Like, so you go to the facility. I mean, what are you actually doing? Are you working with a team? Or are you doing like literally all the other stuff? Like
no,
worrying
I'm like
about marketing and all this stuff?
I'm like helping with coaching and like getting everybody like ready. I don't know. There's a lot of logistical stuff. It's not. I mean, it's obviously it is what it is, right? It's like I'm there and I have to. It's like more than coaching. It's like figuring out who's playing. Why are they playing? Because like Tyron's not here yet, so like a lot of our scrims are just me and Mezer, and then like I do a lot of the prep, like not scheduling scrims so much, but like literally in the server watching them, post map discussions, like
so coaching.
VOD reviews.
You're doing the coaching.
It's literally all coaching.
Okay. When does Tyron get here?
Soon. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
He should be here really soon. I just don't know. I actually don't know what's taking so long.
Okay. Once that happens, what are you going to be doing? Like, you're like, what'd your day-to-day look like once he's here?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. It's like, it's hard. No, because like I have, like right now, that's all I'm doing. Like that's like, I'm doing all of that. So like, it hasn't like gotten to that point where I even have to think about that yet. I don't know how to explain it. Like, there's only 12 PCs in the room. So like once he gets here, like I technically don't have a PC anymore in that room. So then it becomes like, do I need to be there? Or like if I am there, what am I doing? And like, how do I maximize that?
Right.
But I expect to start putting out like more content or trying to like get more content out there, or like finding a way to be useful that doesn't involve me sitting in that room all day, because I do like still have, like I'm still worrying about my dog all the time, and like taking care of that is like also very demanding in a way. So I don't know. It's like
it's balance, man. Yeah, you're gonna have to
balance.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to find that balance for sure. So getting in, obviously you're working intimately with the team at this point, right? What are your thoughts on the team? I mean, we're going to get into just all the matches in just a sec, but you can even allude to it now. Like, how's the team doing? Like, is the chemistry? It seemed to be great going into just all this preseason and obviously moving to LA. Is it pretty much still the same right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's good and it's like hard. It's just like a struggle. Like everything's a struggle because like it's a new team. I mean, like everybody's happy. I would say, like for the most part, like there's not there's no drama on the inside, which is like really good. And that was kind of like the plan with the team. But everyone's feeling good. I mean, we did good in preseason. We weren't like aiming to do well. Like it wasn't like, oh my god, we had to do well in preseason. It was like, let's see what happens, I guess. And like everyone was like really content with our preseason showings. There were a couple like issues, like most of the misplays were like on my end, not even like the team's end. Like you watch the VODs back and you're not like, wow, this team really screwed up. It's just like, you know, some like plays maybe just went not our way, or like maybe a fight went the wrong way a couple of times, but like the team recovered and like I think everyone's morale is really high. I think they're all like confident, so like that's really good for us going forward. And like we're starting now, like because we've had like the week off, not week off, but like we've had the week off of not having to deal with like Overwatch League logistics or anything. So we've had more time to like start settling in, I guess, and like like we didn't practice any maps specifically for preseason. Like we focused on like a couple, but we haven't like gone into like really in-depth map reviews or like here's how to play this map and like, you know, just like all of that fun stuff. So like a lot of our preseason was just like us kind of winging it and like doing what felt right, and like the chemistry was like whatever natural chemistry already existed. So like for us, that feels really exciting because we did really well, but we also like didn't feel like we like maximized any potential that we had. So yeah, I mean everyone's feeling it, but now it's all like there's new stuff. Like you're talking about like this ready fresh thing or whatever. Like that's like literally something that like we're dealing with right now is like next week we have to figure out like how do we get meals to ourselves every day, and then like starting like a more intense like I don't know how to explain it. Like our parent company invested in so much stuff, like just besides Optic and Outlaws and
how to integrate all that stuff into
and like now there's like a whole merch team. So like now we're like working on like what merch we can make and like what can we do to like brand the players outside of Overwatch League, because like there's restrictions on marketing in Overwatch League, but there's not restrictions on marketing the players as individuals. So it's like what moves can we make as like with like the Flame brand, the Mendo brand, the Jake brand, the Clockwork brand, like how do we maximize all of these brands? And then like we had like that video made yesterday that came out.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
was
a documentary crew following you.
Yeah, but it's not even a documentary crew. It's like one guy who's just like a machine.
Oh wow!
And like he's like really silent, and he just like shows up and is like, I need the guys these days, and then they show up, and like it's a lot of adjustment. Like there's a lot of like, this is our life now.
Yeah, it's not just playing. I mean, it's an entire.
And like and the players are like really into that too. It's like not just the playing. It's like how do we grow? How do we? Because like
that's great.
Even when you're talking to the merch team, it's like okay, salary is part of your thing, but like even in regular sports, like salary is not where the money is.
Yeah,
for a lot of athletes, it's all endorsements, and like that's the thing is like now it's like what endorsements can we get? You know, like how do we make the most of our team? Because it's obviously like a super marketable team, but it's also like they're obviously very well skilled and like very well spoken, and like there's a lot of stuff we can be doing in that regard.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the OWL preseason and the matches and all that stuff, I want to just ask a few more questions about coaching and like how you guys are reviewing tape and stuff to improve. I assume every team is looking for ways to review gameplay of every single match in lieu of having like a proper demo or recording system. What are you guys doing to review footage? Does everyone on your team like record their gameplay when they're scrimming and doing matches, or do you just go back and watch the tournaments? Like how do you analyze yourself and your gameplay?
I mean, it's not so much analyzing ourselves right now. It's like maybe that's like a future thing. Like once demos are there, we'll go back and do that. But right now it's like, I mean, this is like literally what happens is like one of the like Mesro will like spectate the team or something. But like for the most part, like I'll have the spec on, but it's like very lax because like I know how to watch Overwatch, I guess. So like I take that for granted. And then like I'll just literally like sit in the spinny chair in the middle of the room and just like bounce between people and like see what they're doing and just like figure out like was that smart? Because like it's when you're in the room with them and you don't have the headset on, you hear the comms anyway because they're obviously all talking around you. So like I can just kind of float, and then like a lot of it is also like the players that aren't playing will like sit in and watch. So like today we had like a scrim and like Jake and Colmat weren't playing. So like me, Jake, and Cool Matt just like sat at a PC and then just like critiqued or like, you know, like watched from like third person. And then like it's mostly just like a lot of what are the mistakes that the whole team is making. There's not a lot of emphasis on like individuals making mistakes unless it's like, you know, you really screwed up here or something. But like we're not like trying to nitpick anybody. It's mostly like map strategy and like how do you react to certain situations and like what's the best way to play a certain map or like a certain comp, and learning like why we lost fights or why we won fights.
Yeah.
Are you dying for like that kind of demo system and stats?
I mean, I want it.
Yeah.
Like I'm past the point of asking for it, right? Like it feels like I can only ask so much, you know? Like,
Well,
I mean,
you know what's interesting is that you can also look at it from the standpoint of, you know, whoever can create, you know, just this whole analysis system, you know, like whatever it is before a demo system, whoever can do that best has a competitive advantage over the rest of the teams too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the strength of my coaches. Like, I mean, I could toot my own horn, but like between like me, Mezer, and Tyrong, like there's a lot of experience like watching Overwatch and like playing Overwatch, and like that's definitely like there are definitely advantages there in terms of just like having people to know what to look for. And like maybe some teams are less experienced in coaching, or like maybe their coaches have different values, but like in terms of how we think about the game, I think like the team's pretty unified. Like we'll have our discussions like whether or not, you know, like is Roadhog this good, or how good is Ana anymore, or like what's the best way to use a Valkyrie, like stuff like that. And like it turns into like really good discussion, but everyone's usually pretty responsive. And I think that's like a big strength of ours, is that like anyone can take criticism and anybody can give criticism. And like
that's good.
Out.
That's not very common.
No, yeah, it's really good. I mean, like most of my team's college educated, and like I didn't realize until after, like we were going through the interviews, and then like, oh, where'd you go to school? And then, like a lot of them had answers, and like some of them I didn't actually know had gone to college, like before I picked them up.
Mm-hmm.
And so like a lot of like the growing pains of like new transitions have like they've already done it before, and like they've already dealt with people that like, you know, maybe you wouldn't normally hang out with or normally, you know, be friends with, but since you're all in the same place, you're like, you have to be friends, like how to make those relationships like meaningful and like work. Like, so it's, I feel really good about the team.
Yeah. You don't have that many youngins. I mean, you just have Muma and Mendo. Yeah. Those are pretty much the only two.
Pretty young.
I mean, it took Muma like a pretty long, like Muma was probably the biggest question mark, not the biggest question mark, but I guess he was the biggest question mark in terms of like what's going to happen with him in the situation. And like it started off like, Jesus, this kid doesn't know how to use a washing machine, we're doomed. But like after the past like 2 weeks, like he's already like transitioned like phenomenally into like adulting. And like it's actually crazy to me like how fast he like went from how do you use a dryer to like, you know, just like living his own life and like doing it. And like now that we're past that, like the sky's kind of the limit for me. Like that was like the biggest scare, and now we're like past it, and it's really good.
That's great.
All right, so now that you're figuring out how to feed everyone, making sure nobody like gets
keeps
lost,
them clean and showering. And, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the preseason and specifically the matches you guys had. I think it's very fair to say, in fact, I don't think anyone would disagree with me with what I'm about to say, in that you had the most difficult set of matches that you could possibly have had. First off playing against Dallas Fuel, second off playing against Seoul Dynasty, and both of those matches were very, very close, insanely close actually. So, you know, we already talked a little bit about the team, but do you want to talk about these matches in particular?
I don't know. Like I learned a lot, I guess, from my perspective in terms of like how to handle it and like how to, you know, like approach it, because, and I don't know if this is like a leak or whatever, like public, I don't know if it needs to be public info, but like we had practice with like a certain lineup of people like for the whole week. And then like we changed it during the match because people were like feeling good or not feeling good. And then like at the end, we like regretted it. And like that was like one of the big takeaways was like, maybe this person should have been in on this map, and like would it have hurt us? And like, did we like should you ever make subs based on like the game or like what you practice? And like there's a lot of like nuance there that I think didn't exist before, because like now we have the freedom to swap people between maps, but we also have to like premeditate it, because when you have to sub is like before the map is even over, or like even like halfway over, like they need to know your subs before the first half ends. So like you don't even know really if your team's gonna do well. Like your team could be, you could be getting steamrolled on defense. Like say you're on defense, which we're always the home team. So like take the Junkertown map against like, no, it wasn't Junkertown. Maybe, yeah, it was Junkertown against like Seoul. And like we got steamrolled points 1 and 2. And then like at that time I have to start making substitutions like already, even though they obviously like held for 5 more minutes. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, your team's getting steamrolled. You think that first half might be over and you need your subs now. But then they hold for 5 more minutes and then you're like, shit, like,
Okay, so
you know, like maybe someone that I wanted to sub out like is starting to play. So you can't really like, you can't come into the match like expecting to make your subs on the fly. You have to like literally know them before you come in. And like for the Seoul match in particular, I didn't know if Mendo was going to play or not because there was like still visa questions and like whether or not he was like ready to go on stage and stuff. So like for that match when I screwed up, this is like a story where like I screwed up the Boink sub. Like Boink was supposed to go in on Koth and we just didn't have a Lucio for Koth, and like Banny and Rockets just like aren't Lucio players.
Okay.
So like I screwed up because I couldn't premeditate the subs because like I wasn't sure if Mendo was even gonna be able to play. So I couldn't like make the roster before. And like I didn't know whether or not Mendo was playing until like literally like 5 minutes before the match started. So it's like you have to really have a plan, and like that's one of the weird things about it. But I also think it's like super beneficial to us, or like me, or I guess our group as a team, because it's not hard for us to like figure out like what's good and what's bad. Like if someone's having a bad map in scrims all day, or like they're like this hero is just not working, then like someone else takes the wheel, I guess, you know, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like if let's say we're playing like Genji or something, or like let's say we were running like Jake and Clockwork or something, and then we're like, you know, Widow would have been a way better pick this entire map. Then it's like, okay, one of you guys is out, we're putting Linkster in, you know, and like that's like that's like how we run it, and like it gives us a good leg up. But I mean, the matches felt really good. Most of the match losses were like, I don't know, we lost like one, or if we had like won 1 or 2 more fights on Lijiang, we would have beaten Envy. If we had like won 1 or more fight on Oasis, we would have beaten Envy or Dallas rather. And the Seoul map, like we could have won Junkertown, but I think like Wiki like clutched like 3 times or 2 times in a row, and like a 2v1, like a 3-man pulse bomb. Like it's like nobody on the team was like mad that we lost. You know, it was like, okay, we lost, but like if we played that match 100 times, like would we have lost it? And the answer was like probably not. So I don't know, like if it was unfortunate, I guess. It wasn't unfortunate that we had to play Seoul. Nobody cared. They were actually really excited because I have a lot of Team USAers that like really just wanted to like, you know, get even with Jaehong and Toby, and like
it's a measuring stick too.
Korea. Yeah, no, it was definitely a measuring stick. Yeah. But like nobody thought that like we came out of those matches like feeling bad. You know, like I saw like someone like Dogman like rated us like number 9 or something on his power rankings, but like
he still has like, you at like number 10.
Yeah, he put us at like number 9 after that, and I was like, okay, did you like even watch the preseason matches? Like, so you know what I mean? It's like we don't care where people measure us. It's just like for us, we needed to see like, you know, how good is Fuel, how good is Dynasty, and then like for us, it was like, okay, look, we came into this new, like these are 2 really established teams. They played, like a lot of them have played together before, and for us, it's like Jiri's never played with half these players. Like the FaZe guys have never played with the Corn Dogs players. Like there's a few Team USA overlaps, but like nobody on the team was like, oh my God, we got stomped, or oh my God, if only we had practiced more. It was like, okay, they beat us, but like give us a couple more weeks and give us our coaching and like see what happens, you know? So like the team's feeling like really, really good. And our losses didn't feel like losses. They felt like wins because nobody expected us to do anywhere remotely. People were like, oh, 3-0. 4-0 every match. Like, get the hell out of here.
You know what it felt like? It felt like USA versus Korea, basically. It's just like a lot of people didn't expect it. And
like it's like you have this player, right?
Player
like,
too. It's like literally
Jake
a player.
Is like Jake's like this player that like everybody loves to hate because he's got like that like really like I want to say punchable. Like he's got like that punchable, like that smirk. You know, like he's got that smirk that like makes you like want to hit him, right? What? So like people are like, oh my God, Jake's throwing my games. And then like there's like a hate train for Jake. And then like when I picked up Jake, like the first thing that people said was like, why isn't Jake AKM? But then like you see Jake play Junkrat, and then he's just like taking massive dumps on people, right?
Taimu in particular.
Like, yeah, and that's like the thing is like he break like our team's like on stage presence is like so different than I think people get from like their streams or like from their, I don't know, like old VODs. Like I think like people like still look at him and see LG Evil and stuff,
Well,
and like the LG Evil online team, but like my team has like Outlaws in particular, and like this is probably true for a lot of other teams. Like some people just play better on stage,
well, there's
and like
some people. I call them ballers, man. Like when people are, when they're on stage and like you have to make plays, and you just play to your max potential, or sometimes even beyond, overachieve. I mean, those are the guys that, I mean, Jake is one of those guys. Like you just see the level of play of his just elevate, and he did it for Team USA during World Cup, and we saw it too. Even against particularly against Dallas.
Like Jake and Linkster, I think were like my two.
Yep.
I don't know what the word is. Like I didn't pick them knowing. Like Cool Matt always calls me like clairvoyant. Like he uses that term because like when I recruited Linkster, it was like before Contenders. Like Linkster was already on Outlaws before Contenders finals. And then like Linkster just like suddenly became like the greatest. Like he just like looked like one of the greatest players in the game.
Oh yeah,
he was amazing too.
I was losing my mind on Dorado when he was just like chasing down Taimu.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing is like
crazy.
Linkster like just became like this, like he's just insane. Like he's actually just insane. And like for like Jake too, like when I picked up Jake, it was like way before like World Cup was like over, and everyone was like still shit talking him. And then like he went on stage and like nobody ever thought Jake had a bad game in like the World Cup like match against South Korea. Like the players just like have a, I guess it's like a different level of like what they see, like what they expect from themselves, and like they like flip a switch for like big like performances and like being clutch. And like that's also like one of the big things about like Raucus too, is like Raucus like very rarely chokes. Like I don't think I've ever seen Raucus like choke, and like that's actually like a big reason why I picked him. Like, and I don't know if everyone thought like that, but like Cool Matt never has a bad game. The team just
Cool
like
Matt's just
he's just like he's actually so solid. Like he's actually
like
just
literally
so
the best diva in the world. Like he's that level, right? So yeah. I think at this point
like
people know that. I mean, it's
it's like
a hidden
it's just like
gem, but he's definitely.
It's just like for us, like we went into the matches like saying like, okay, like we can win these, and like maybe the whole Reddit and like Twitter, whoever's just like feels gonna shit on them, but like the team never felt like that, and like obviously we proved that it wasn't ever gonna be like that, and like I mean for preseason meant a lot to a lot of different teams, but I think for us we had the best showing that we could have had. I mean, obviously we could have won both games, but like it makes us hungrier now because it's like, okay, like now we really need to make up for this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely you guys were a few plays from really flipping at least the Dallas one. I felt like literally like
But it's like if we had if we had won the Dallas one, we would have never gotten to have played Seoul. And like that's like the trade-off, right? It's like, okay, you lost, but now you get to play Seoul. And that was like it was like a catch-22. Not saying that like we wanted to lose the Dallas game, but like because we lost the Dallas game, we got to play that Seoul game. And I think the Seoul game was like really the eye opener for a lot of people.
Yeah. What would you have played Florida then if you would have won?
Okay.
Yeah. There wasn't much to gain on that one. I don't think for the person playing them. I mean, it's only, Florida is definitely one of the last ranked teams right now. So I think it might have been interesting to see if you could still get up for that playing against that team. I think that's always one character test too. It's just how do you play against the bad team, or not bad teams, but the weaker teams, right? And do you play to their level?
Like that's actually one of our problems right now in like scrims, is that like some players just like don't get excited, and like on stage everyone's excited. So it's like you base how the team's playing in scrims, and you're like, okay, like this player's quiet and this player, is like feeding or something.
Yeah.
And then you like go on stage and it's like the quiet player becomes the really vocal player. The really vocal player like takes a step back and like lets the other players talk. And it's like really the stage presence is like actually such a big part of Overwatch League. Like you can watch the teams on stage. Like you won't hear their comms, but like if you're in the arena and you look at them, like you can see which teams are like the ones where everyone's yelling or everyone's really into it. And then there's like some teams where they're all just like really quiet. And
right.
They look kind of dead. And like there's a lot of benefit to like having the really vocal team on stage.
Well, I mean, that's one odd weird thing about you guys scrimming against your opponents. Like that doesn't happen. I mean, I guess that happens in preseason, but that doesn't happen when you're practicing outside of games. Like, what sport do you actually have the competitors practicing against each other? That just never happens, right? So,
yeah.
we'll probably eventually, hopefully, get to the point where these organizations, whether it's the contenders team or whatever, right, like are really the practice team, the practice squad. But right now, I just think it's kind of weird. Like I'm hearing the same thing, not just from you, but from other teams too. Like people just don't get up for the scrims right now. And
Well, it's also like the thing is like, what do you? I don't know what the word is. Like, people have different expectations for scrims and like different like goals. Like I definitely hear this side of people are like, oh my god, what if they steal your strats or like whatever? Like but that's not really a concern for the best teams. Like I think the best teams just want to like make the best teams. Like does that make sense? Like you don't care if someone steals your strat if you're gonna run it better than them every time, and like.
Well, not
That's
steals
like
your strats, but counters your strat.
Yeah, counters. But like that's the thing too is like how scared are you? And like I think that's like our mentality right now is like we're trying new things in scrims and like a lot of it doesn't work and like we'll lose scrims because we're trying a new comp or like just seeing does this work or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, but at the end of the day, it's like okay, if someone sees this and they try to counter it, like we'll have 2 or 3 more strats prepared. Like as long as you're not a one-dimensional team, I don't know how big of a problem that is for you.
Right.
But I think that goes back to like having more than 6 people on the roster and like why having the 6-man roster is like weird. Because like if I want to run triple DPS or like triple tank, I can obviously do that. Like I have Spree, I have Mendo, I have Clockwork, like all these players that can play a lot of things, and like it's good. Oh, I'll get it back. My dog's barking.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, So clearly, I mean, the Outlaws. I think we talked about obviously the Dallas versus Houston matchup last week, and then they finished out against Seoul, but the Seoul match was super close too. So I mean, I thought that was a pretty exciting one. I think Seoul was actually tested against them much more than they were tested against New York, in my opinion. And everybody was looking forward to that finale. Like Ben, what'd you think of that? Like just seeing the 2 Korean teams basically play each other. Not excluding London, of course, but New York and Seoul.
I actually don't remember as much about that match, to be very honest.
Yeah, that says a lot. Actually,
yeah,
right?
it was a less memorable one, which is kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, so overall take on I guess the teams that surprised you, like either way, like surprisingly great and surprisingly disappointing.
Yeah, for me, the big surprise, the biggest takeaway is that I think most teams are much closer skill-wise than anyone was predicting. I mean, even teams like Boston and San Francisco Shock, which basically every single pundit and Redditor and whatever community person was saying they're at the bottom of the pack, and then you have Boston taking maps off great teams. You have Shock playing very well. Gladiators came up with a huge upset, beating London Spitfire.
Yeah.
To me, this just kind of shows that we might be in for a much more competitive overall league than anyone really thought originally. Valiant going 2-0, like I never would have expected that. Like in my personal rankings, I had Valiant pretty low, but like Gladiators surprised me, Boston surprised me, Shock surprised me, Valiant surprised me. Outlaws surprised me, making really close matches against the best possible teams in the league. Like we're just in for a really good season, I think.
Yeah, I feel like for me, you kind of summed it up. But for me, I think generally speaking, I think there's just less tiers than we thought. I think there's like
okay. There's
there's a top
2
tier.
sides to this. Well, yeah. I mean, it's like right now there's no tiers. Like there should.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's gonna get better. Like we even saw London getting better. Like after even just like one game. So I mean, a lot of these teams are going to start separating from each other.
I think and I don't know if this is a leak, but apparently, I don't know. This is the story, so I don't think it's a leak. But the story is that apparently, like they sent out the wrong roster for the London. They they played the wrong half of their team for Junkertown, so like it was like their first time playing Junkertown or something.
Right.
I don't know, but like my point being that like I think that like there shouldn't be a big gap right now. I think like the gap comes in when like the teams figure out like it's like style, right? Like I made a team and now I have to make it the best, right? And like how I do that is all how I do that and like how our coaches do that and like how our staff does that. And like the team should all start off really like equally not polished, I guess. Like I mean some of the matches looked really good, but I think like that's just the foundation. Like the matches should get better.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know, like right now everyone should be close because they're all thrown in the same boat. Like some teams don't, like Linkster was only there for a week before the preseason started. Like some of the Korean players showed up like 2 days before. You know, like there wasn't a lot of prep. So like a lot of it was like, okay, like I think Misfits have only been there like a couple days or like a week or something, like the whole team.
Right.
And like everything should have felt really even. And I think like by the time the real season starts and by the time we get to like, I don't know, March, there's going to be like massive gaps.
Separations. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many separations do you think there'll be? That because I was saying like I just don't think there's like 4 tiers or anything like that. I think there's
probably like 3 tiers. There'll probably be like the bottom of the pack, the obvious top of the pack, and then like there should be tiers. Like realistically, there should be tiers.
Yeah.
There should be teams that like just don't make it. There should be teams. There will be the teams that get the internal drama. There's gonna be the teams that just like feel really good and like are having a really good time and like, you know, play really well. And there's gonna be teams that like cause upsets. Like that's what people think of us right now. Like we're gonna be the team that causes upsets. But like, you know, it's
3 tiers. I think is right.
The coaching philosophies and like the practice schedules and like how teams practice and how they work together and like who's making the shot calls and like who's picking who plays and like, you know, like that's all going to come into play and that's like going to really limit teams or skyrocket them. And I think like it's really like I think some of the teams with like really stacked rosters might have like management problems or like some crazy internal shit that like kills their team from the inside. And like there's so many reasons why a team can go bad and like it happens in regular sports too where like there's just a problem on the inside that just never gets resolved and it just like eats away. So I mean, I think right now everyone should have felt really hectic. Like preseason just felt really hectic to me in particular, but like it should have, and everyone should have been feeling that. And now it's like, who got through that? Like, how do you keep getting through that? Does the stress eat anybody alive? Is anyone having trouble sticking to the schedules? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like you said, surviving that just the transition and just into this type of league format is going to be a big part of how you know, successful they are. But surely there's got to be something that you pull from preseason. I mean, yeah, the teams are all going to be probably pretty different, even just in 3 weeks whenever the season starts, and just after a lot of practice and really coordinating and really just, you know, just being together for weeks in the same place. But I feel like you could still pull something from these games, and you know, like just some players that might have surprised you, like didn't realize, oh wow, like he's actually quite good, even in this just a little bit chaotic, you know, type of situation. I mean, I'll throw one out. Like I think Striker, like on Boston, like, you know, I was just kind of like, oh wow, Striker was actually really good. I didn't actually even realize that. Gamsu too. We talked about Gamsu last week too. I mean, just some guys that I just wasn't, you know, I didn't really get like a lot of, you know, airtime or just watching them, you know, a lot in the past, you know, just kind of stood out to me. And that's just to name a couple. Like, were there any others like that for you? Ben?
Baby Bay.
Yeah,
really
Baby Bay. Yeah.
I mean, I know everyone already going into the season had a really high stock in him. I wasn't one of those people. I hadn't seen it before. He really surprised me. Like Baby Bay played awesome. Right. I thought Silk Thread was also a really big surprise for me. Someone that super wasn't on my radar. But you know, particularly he had some good plays with Farah and Soldier, and just seems like a really well-rounded DPS. And I think that's a really cool aspect of this league is just there's so many players that even in the previous era of Overwatch, when we had tournaments all the time and every single weekend, we still didn't see this sheer breadth of quality of players that we're seeing right now, which is very cool.
Yeah. Anybody like that for you, Flame? Like on any of the teams? I mean,
I don't know. Like, I haven't really been focusing so much on that. Like, there's definitely been, I don't know. Like I think Gamsu was actually probably one of my bigger like surprises. I don't know. It's funny to me because like before OWL, we used to like joke about like how Fleta was in ELO hell. And like we'll scrim souls some days and like they won't all feel like they're on point, but like Fleta will still like carry. Like the player just somehow has like this, like it's like he looks so good on or whatever. I think it was Combox or I think it was Combox.
Wait,
I don't remember, but like Fleta.
Oh, you're talking about the Fleta's team. Oh, I thought you were
before in Apex, but like he still has like that edge where like he's just so good, and like it's crazy. Like I don't know, like sometimes he makes the rest of Soul Dynasty feel like he's like solo carrying them, like he's or Flash Lux, yeah, it was Flash Lux,
yeah.
but he's just nuts, and like it's different because some players like I think came to NA and like maybe fell off, or like I don't know. I liked like Pine. I think it was Pine.
Pine.
Like I watched Pine
just
going nuts on Widow. Like I mean, for me, like Linkser went from like I didn't know how good Linkser was, to be honest with you. Like coming into the season, like when he got here, like the guy just landed, goes into his first scrim. I don't remember who it was against, but he just goes on Widow, and I swear to you, he like didn't miss for like 5 shots in a row, and like things were just dead, and like it's like some players I think just came to Overwatch League and then like leveled up. I think like Gamsu's one of them. I think Linkser's one of them. Baby Bay's probably one of them. Fleta, I mean, Fleta was always good, but like, for like
that, to actually
like,
see him, to actually
like,
see them in an environment. I mean,
yeah.
You could say the same thing about Linkser in some ways too. I mean, we've been talking about Linkser for a long time as being one of the like a great DPS player, but we just never seen him in the right situation, right? So yeah, it's actually great getting a chance to see these guys and just in a more just talented team. Just don't have to worry about just everything around you. And
I mean, Jake to an extent was like not a surprise, but like I mean, I didn't really watch most of the preseason games because I was at the studio and like we would be scrimming or like prepping or doing whatever we had to do. So like, admittedly, I didn't watch like half of the matches. But like we've scrimmed against a lot of the teams, and like there's definitely some people who like you're like, wow, this guy's like really good.
His junk is really good. Like his junk is like very just clearly good, right? Like Jake, whenever he's playing it, it's very there's a fluidity to his junk that stands out to me whenever I'm watching him. Yeah. So, anyways, I think there is, like you said, there's only a limited amount that you can pull from. It's preseason, but there, is definitely good for the, obviously the community to see the players. Obviously good for production for the practice. They really, I think the preseason might have been mostly for production, to be honest, and just getting that down and really showing off the studio and just not the studio, but the actual arena and just the cool stage and everything. Which, Ben, I haven't gotten your thoughts on just all of that, because we talked a little bit about just the stage and everything last week, but what's your take on everything that you saw?
I think it looked beautiful. I mean, as a first debut, it's amazing. You can only go up from here, but those huge screens behind all the players I think looked great. I think the production value looked great. I think the casting and hosting was very good. Yeah, I honestly was like super impressed with the production value of the entire thing in general.
When they show the map like on the screens, holy smokes, that looks so awesome.
You mentioned the old StarCraft stage at BlizzCon. Yep. It's almost like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had that on that stage too. I wonder if that's where they got that idea, where like they'd go to a different map and then there would be this clean animation where it would just flow over the whole screen, and that just looks so cool.
Yeah, I think this one's way more sophisticated than way more expensive too than the StarCraft.
Yeah, it's like funny to me because
it's like a projector versus LED basically.
Yeah. It's the room is like right there. Like I have to walk past like where the stage is like every day to get to the facility, and like for like I don't know 3 or 4 weeks there was just nothing but boxes of LEDs like in the hallway. And like every day the hallway would get like bigger because the boxes would be gone and like LEDs have been installed, and like it didn't hit me until I walked into the arena like the first day of preseason, because I actually just never went in there. Like I kind of just wanted to be like there for the surprise. And we were doing like rehearsals, and then it like dawned on me like where all those TVs went. Like I actually didn't know what the stage looked like until the day before the season started, and like my God, like it's actually insane. Like I don't know of a better stage. Like I don't think that there is one.
Yeah, it looks seamless too. So if it was all of the like a bunch
of
LEDs
wall,
put together,
the entire wall is LEDs, and like
it looks seamless.
The booth is like all LEDs.
Yeah,
the lights at the top like change, like the spotlights and like I forget what they're called, like the stage lights. They change color based on like which team wins.
Yeah, right.
Like there's so much thought put into literally into the lighting and the stage itself, like there's a whole crew just dedicated to that, and it's like actually crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all the, I would say like extraneous things, or just the, the real, great touches and things like that, like the stage and just all these lighting and all this stuff. I think they've done an awesome job with that. I think the only things I would pick at just in terms of the production is just that like they just don't want to use the mini map, I guess, because they almost didn't show it at all, like on day one.
Did
Like,
they show it even once?
I don't even. They did on day two. I did see it on day two.
Okay,
On day one,
didn't.
I almost never saw it. Like, and I watched a lot of day one, so that seemed to be on purpose, given that they showed it more, at World Cup. Like, clear for sure, it seemed like they showed it more. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I love the mini map, so I mean, I don't think you should show it like a crazy amount of times, but I think it gives a really cool perspective to just how things are on the map, just just having people understand that even in just a real simple way. So I kind of miss that. And then secondly, I just think they just need to work on the spectating. Like, I think that there's too much like first person point of view. Like, there were sometimes we were just sitting on a guy for like way too long. Like, he was doing nothing. Like, I think maybe his ultimate was like ready, so they were just like kind of preparing for that. But that was something I just noticed. Like, it's glaringly, like I was just noticing it. So it was obviously way overdone for me to like just have that kind of reaction to it. So yeah, I mean, so that part of it, which is like a very, very like fundamental part of it, I feel like still needs to be worked on. I don't know. Did you guys have the same reaction to that?
There's like a trade-off. I don't know what the word is. Like, I hang out with Zoe and Mitch a decent amount still, and like I had this conversation with Zoe and even Alchemeister, like Jason.
Jason.
Like, there hasn't been Overwatch since World Cup, and so like for preseason, it was like their first time spectating in like months, like more than just like bot games and like whatever they were scrimming. And like Jason asked me, Zoe asked me, Mitch asked me, like, can we watch your scrims? Like, do you guys care? Because they actually, like, even I was talking to Doa, like, too, at the event, like, the meta changed a lot between World Cup and now. Like, Moira wasn't used a lot, but Moira is like a new hero. I think like the flow of how Valkyrie's used is a lot different. At the beginning, I didn't know who was winning team fights with Valkyrie, and now, like, I don't know, 2 months later, like, I really, like, I can tell who's going to win a fight before it, like, it doesn't matter that first pick got res, like, I can still tell you who's going to win. And like, if you haven't been watching that much, like, that's really hard to adjust to. And like, the drought kind of made the casters uneasy, I think, too, and it definitely made the specs uneasy. Like, who should I be watching right now? And like, it's a lot of it is just a symptom of there not being a lot of Overwatch to watch up until that point. I think like it's part of the spectator, like whatever issues there are with the HUD still, like I think are, what Blizzard knows. But in terms of like who's spectating and who they're spectating, like there wasn't a lot for them to practice with, to the point where like they did ask, and like I was like, yeah, like just let me know, like I don't mind if you guys watch.
I get that. It's just, and that's fine. I mean, I know it's going to get better. It's just, for me, it's like I would have rather them make the mistake of not only showing first person point of view, because that's like what you start off doing when you're spectating. Like you're doing this for the first time. That's like the kind of spectating that happens when you're doing it for the first time. So I would have.
To be fair, I mean, I don't know how much you've seen Mercy's trading Valkyries at the same time, but like it's actually just like. Me and Mezer were spectating a scrim yesterday, and it was like Moira Mercy against like Moira Mercy. And then like if you're in third person, you just see like the octopus beams coming out of two Mercies. There's like a Transcendence and like a Moira beam at the same time, and like your screen is just like a light show. And like I think that they're trying to like get away from that. Like you don't want the viewers to think like, okay, this game is actually just a light show. But there's definitely some abilities right now that like make third person spectating really, really difficult.
Yeah, I can understand that. It just, you can't sit on Tracer forever though. Like that's just bad. Sure. Like I can't stress that enough. Like, but I get it. Like there's also challenges for third person too. So yeah, I mean, I know it's going to get better. So like I said, if I'm going to nitpick on something, it'd still be that. But everything else, man, it's like, almost there. Like I think that even replays, I think was a lot cleaner. Like just how they did it. They have like this pip kind of thing now, and then they have like a giant replay text on top of the replay now, so it's very very clear when it's a replays. So definitely saw improvements from World Cup. So it'd be great to just see like what happens whenever the season starts and what kind of improvements are going to be there. But yeah, overall, I think it was great. The casting was great.
The slow motion was dope.
Yeah,
It was
dude, on the
awesome.
widows too, it was so
Like on
important.
anything, it was so good.
Yeah. The pulse bumps, yeah, there are definitely a lot of great uses of it. Very, very entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you if you've listened to the show before, you know where my head's at in terms of spectating. I don't think they used even close to as enough third-person camera, in my opinion. This is the most unwinnable debate ever because everyone has
Jason
a completely different perspective about it.
Yeah.
But like, I honestly, truthfully think that every single time there's any dead, if there's ever a dead moment and like a team fight's over, zoom out, show positioning. Even when their team fight is going, there are times when it's happening on so many different vertical levels that you want to just show where positioning is happening. Like, I personally want to see way more minimap. I want to see way more third-person camera. I mean, I didn't watch every single game super carefully, but it felt like it was third-person approximately 3 to 5% of the time.
Yeah.
I could be wrong,
I
but
agree.
I want more
5%,
like
I'll say
20 to
5%.
30%. Like
Yeah.
literally, I want almost half of what I'm watching to be in third person, and I know, or free float, but I know most people disagree with me on this one, but I feel like we're missing so much of what's really happening in the game by watching first person like 90 to 97% of the time, which is what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like basically they only went free
it was-
float if it was like the end of King's Row or like the end of like some map. I don't know.
For
Anyway,
me, for me, it was like, it was fine for me watching it, the way it was. Like somebody who watches Overwatch a ton. I mean, it was fine, for me to do that. It's just I'm thinking about what a person that doesn't watch it every week comes and what they're going to be, like seeing, and like what their first, impression is going to be like, and that's what I'm worried about, because people just stop watching for months if they like their first impression of it is just like shitty. So that's what I worry about every time I'm talking about this type of thing. It's like, we have to at least present it in a way that's palatable. Like if it's not palatable, then it's like, damn, my eyes just can't take it. I can't even watch this. Like, that's a huge problem, for that to have. And kind of getting back to the minimap, do you guys know anybody that just didn't like the minimap? Like Flame, like do you know anybody that just like complained about the minimap?
Everyone who watched it loved it.
No, it's good. I don't know. It was definitely on for a few matches. I remember.
Yeah, I saw it for sure.
Watching. I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
I remember when, but like my issue right now with the minimap is that like we have the LAN client in the practice room.
Oh, I think you cut out, dude.
Like we don't have access to the minimap still,
Oh yeah.
And like that's my biggest gripe with it. I mean, I wish we saw more of it.
The technology is just not there. It just doesn't exist.
Oh gosh, not that again, man. But okay, well, I mean, overall, I think it was a successful preseason. I think a lot of people, were hyped about it. Maybe even some people that were negative about Overwatch League, I think might have, convinced some folks that, definitely Blizzard's heading in the right direction with this. I guess we won't know for sure until, the opening of the season, but, everything looks according to plan right now, and it's looking pretty hype. One thing, I wanted to bring up, just because I kind of have it down as topic of the week, but it's really just more to do with the casters, right? The casting was phenomenal. The casting was great. I think Chris, hosting was, I think Chris was the best I've ever seen him hosting, was this preseason. So the one thing about casting I'll say is that, we don't see ZP there, right? And ZP obviously is part of the show, and it is a little bit surprising, and him not being here is, I think, the most appropriate time to talk about it. So word out is Semler's going to be basically taking the ZP spot. We kind of saw Hex being matched up with different people, whether it was X or just, I feel like he was just mixed and matched there at certain times. But not having the ZP hex is definitely weird to me. And then having Semler come in, Semler, I've known Semler for a while, and he's an awesome guy. I think we'll be very, it'll be great to have him as part of Overwatch and part of this community. But there's going to be a ramp up time for him. Like he hasn't casted Overwatch. Like even if he just practices for a month straight, it's still not going to be clean the first time he does it. We've seen Mr. X go through it, and Matt, sorry, and we've seen Golden Boy do it. We've seen this progression, right, for people from other games, and we've seen the result of it. It's taken months and months before they get it right. So Semler, if he's going to start off like on day one of Overwatch League, it's going to be rough. I'll just be honest, right? And not having ZP as part of that is an interesting decision. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Just Overwatch League without ZP in season 1.
It's pretty cool on one hand that we've got some of the top talent from League of Legends, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike. What else? What am I missing? StarCraft. Golden Boy from like Halo. When he was
from everything.
It's pretty cool that we have
like
an all-star cast of just like everybody is involved. At the same time, ZP put more work into casting than any other individual, any other human on the face of the planet. For months upon months upon months, he was sacrificing 10 to 15 hours per day, every Saturday and every Sunday for what, a year and a half, doing that straight with the only goal of getting to be one of the premier casters in Overwatch. Just because you put in hard work doesn't mean you should always get the thing, but he put in the hard work. He understands the game at a high level, and he's a really hype play-by-play caster. So I'm really sad, honestly. I'm sad that Andy's not getting his chance in the limelight. I will say, though, on the other side, I don't hate the fact that they're bringing Semler in. Semler's a great commentator. He's a great guy. But not having ZP is a feels bad moment for me.
Flame, any thoughts?
I knew about this for like a long time, that he
Yeah.
wasn't going to be doing it. So like,
Yeah.
my thoughts were definitely different back then. Like I had a long call with him about like what he should do and like how to.
Right.
Remember, I forget what I was doing. I think I was like buying suits for something. I don't remember. It might have actually. I don't know how long.
You need to
ago
buy
it was.
suits for some of the other guys too, dude. But...
No, I'm saying like I remember I was at the mall like buying sneakers or something, and ZP called me on my phone and he was like he like just wanted to vent, I guess, and like. So like he knew, but this was a long time ago. But it's weird. I don't know how much of it is like I don't. The one thing I really don't like about it is that like people are doing this thing where like they're saying why Semler and ZP or something. Like they're making they're creating a scenario
tying
where
those things
like,
together, kind of thing.
No, yeah, like they're mixing them together, like where they're saying like okay, like Semler stole ZP spot or something. But like if you're gonna argue against Semler, like you have to give everyone else the same criticisms, I guess. It's like, why is he like you don't want to throw other people under the bus, but like you don't want it to be like, oh, Semler took ZP spot. Like then you could say like, oh, did Mitch take ZP spot? And I think like that's been getting to some of the casters. Like I saw Mitch like having a Twitter war the other day, and I was like, oh my god, like people are starting to like feel the pressure, I guess, because a lot of the criticisms are like.
Well, it's definitely not. Come on, I mean, we're talking
about.
No,
it's definitely not Mitch, but I'm saying like that's the. I'm not saying it's Mitch. I'm saying like that like notion of like people are. You have to like make it fair, right? Like you can't say Semler took ZP spots to be like, okay, if ZP's not there, is there someone else? And like I think that's like the unfair part to me is that like people are associating it with like as if it's like Semler's fault that like ZP's not there in some way. I think that's really unfair.
It's never Semler's fault. If there's anybody's fault, it's going to be whoever makes the decision at Blizzard, right? Like that they make the decisions in the end. So absolutely nobody should be blaming Semler. Like I said, it's going to be great to have Semler as part of the community. It's just it's such an interesting decision, just given that he needs ramp up time to even get to the Semler level that we know Semler, in CS:GO, and having that. I mean, you could have just had him, like for instance, doing contenders, which ZP is going to be doing contenders, I think, and just have Semler do contenders for like maybe the first season, and then bring him on season 2, which I'm thinking is going to be the opposite. Like we're probably going to see ZP probably get back on the OWL, lineup once we need more casters. I'd be surprised if he's not like.
Well, I mean,
first
they're going to need more casters, especially if they want to do like this traveling thing.
Yeah. So I mean, in the end, it's probably going to all work out by season 2, but still, it's such an it's definitely an odd move. Like I know Semler has been having some issues just figuring out just casting and where his place is in terms of CS:GO. So it was like a really good time for him to come over here, but it's just I don't know. I just think it's very, very odd, just given that Andy was the person that had to get knocked out for that, and it had overlap too, right? Play by play. There's only a certain amount of people that do play by play, so he just happens to be wanting to do play by play. So that I think it's fair that people compare, just like talk about Semler when talks about that spot, because he's the person that's coming in and he has the least amount of experience. So anyways, I think that I know Semler will work hard. I just hope that he can figure out that chemistry with Hex right off the bat, because it sounds like the casters are going to get paired up, like just kind of like what we saw, right? Doa and Mani, and we had Mitch and who was with Mitch most of the time?
X.
Yeah, it was X. Yeah, so those two, and then so we're gonna have obviously Hex and Semler together, and it's gonna take some time, but hopefully it works out, like after maybe a month together and doing some broadcasts, like 4 of them, I think, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see, but I do feel bad for ZP. Hopefully that will rectify itself by season 2.
I do agree that they're going to need more talent, like eventually down the road. I don't know. I'm probably the only one who feels this way, but I think the whole concept of like only ever pair these 2 casters together ever, I think having such rigid rules doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd rather see them. Maybe ZP isn't the premier caster that's brought in on like all the highest profile games in the grand finals, but we're going to need more casters, and I'd like to see them be a bit more flexible with it as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that comes down to like caster preference at that point. Like, I mean, I don't want to like throw people under the bus, but like Monte and Doa like obviously only want to work together, and like I think if the casters were like put in, like you create your pairing, and this is like something that I think affected me at one point, where it was like if I wanted to cast, I needed to find like a really stable partner or like solid partner that like I could work with well, and like that definitely impacts decisions in terms of like who's playing what. Like if Mitch wanted to work with Mr. X, like that could be a factor, like if like maybe they hired Semler before they hired before Hex and ZP, maybe like they knew that they were going to get Semler before they were even considering Hex and ZP, etc. Like there's a lot of like outside factors here in terms of like, do casters want to swap partners? Like,
well, I mean, I think that there are some casters, like you said, that don't want to work with anybody else. I mean, they have their own almost like Tasteostis brand. You know what I mean? Like,
but there's value in that. There's a lot of value.
Of course there is. It's an established paradigm. Like, it's already been proven in sports that having the same pair be like this familiar, voice or voices every time you watch a football game is like beneficial. Like, there's a reason, why the Brent Musburgers or like it was a Madden Summerall for a long time. Those guys, right? They were always together, and we see those same type of duos nowadays in college football and in NFL. So I think that's following the same paradigm. I think it makes sense, but it's a little bit different here because we have like casters switching. We're switching duos in between games. It's not like they're casting all the games for an entire day. And then like another one's going to do, maybe that's what they're going to do eventually. But right now, like what we see is like literally people swapping like from hour to hour. So I don't actually think it accomplishes the same thing as like we see with sportscasters,
No,
like,
but it's not that though. It's like John Madden and Al Michaels, like even if they're only casting half the NFL games, like they're doing it at the highest level, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not about them switching to like preserve the integrity of the broadcast. It's like to preserve their own like, I don't know what the word is, like them working together is more impactful than whatever else, like the broadcast, like them working with the broadcast or whatever. It's like you want the idea of Hex or Monty and Doa is like better than them doing like than swapping. Like it has nothing to do with the swap. It has to do with the fact that the casters perform on a higher level when they're together, even if it's only for one game at a time or something.
Okay, I mean, I get that. I mean, they have chemistry between each other, so I totally understand that. All right, well, anyways, let's move on. Let's do some Q&A. We got a couple questions that we can wrap up for the night, but we got Tom from Canada asks, hey guys, love the podcast. I have a question for you. Do you think that Blizzard wants with the league? Wait, do you think with what Blizzard wants with the league, we will ever see Overwatch League on live sports channels such as TSN? Thanks for your input. So on TV, basically, right? Like,
For sure.
yeah. I think there's not even a question, right? Like, I think it's already going to be on TV at some point.
It's already been on Disney XD, Contenders, and World Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe one day on ESPN. Who knows, right? Like, it's just a matter of what kind of deals that they. If season one's going to be a big deal, season one's going to, I think, be proof of concept for their sales team to go and sell like to some of these networks. And hell, maybe Turner takes on another league. I don't know, right?
They already did Overwatch once.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they shell out some more money and do Overwatch League too. Yeah,
I think you guys talked about broadcast rights and stuff last episode, but yeah, there's no reason why Blizzard wouldn't want to be on both TV, traditional media, and online. They want as many people to see this as possible, and I also think that if they're selling broadcast rights, you can probably package up online sales and TV sales differently as well.
How funny would it be if it was on Disney Channel? Freaking esports on Disney. I mean, it was on Disney XD, but not. I'm talking about like Disney Channel, like the.
Why not?
That would be so funny. Esports on the Disney Channel. I mean, it makes sense just given that it's like a cartoon basically, but
Disney's investing in esports all over the place now.
I mean, shoot, the demographics like my kids' age, man. They freaking love Overwatch, so it makes sense too. I don't know, Flame. Any thoughts on that, or we can move on to the next one?
No, I mean, I'd be surprised if it didn't. Like, I'm surprised. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the broadcast deals are, but I would expect that there is one.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Rob. He has a question. So this is more from a European's perspective, Overwatch League. And I've actually had a few Europeans write me and basically, kind of express their disappointment. So I figured I'd at least read one of them. So Rob, I, as a disappointed European, bear with me, wonder how Overwatch League could grow a larger European audience. What we have now is a league catering to anything but our region. Sure, there's a representative. The issue is that the UK is one country in Europe out of 44, and it's unlikely that the vast majority of the Europeans will support them just because. And it's a much longer, but basically, his sentiments are, the league right now isn't catered for the EU region at all. Like, whether it's like times, like the matches are on, and I mean, you can argue that it's not really great for the Asian region either. I mean, we got like matches in the 5 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. That's not great either. But he does have a point though. Like I don't think that it's really, I don't think they've done any favors for the Europeans so far. And the London team is basically a Korean team. So I think they're maybe feeling a little bit of that too. So yeah, thoughts on that? Like, I mean, is it just like, it's kind of like something that we have to go through because you know what? I mean, there's a reason why Overwatch League is all centered around LA this first season too, right? Like they're not actually in their cities either. So, or do you think this is a strategic thing?
I mean, I could go pretty deep on this topic.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, well, first thing first, you can't have until they actually nail the traveling around the world to each different location thing. If you're in one location, you're not going to be able to serve all time zones. So you're going to have to make a harsh decision somewhere. I can understand why they went with Europe instead of like why they're kind of like prioritizing NA and Asia over Europe. Obviously, it's Blizzard. They have a legacy with South Korean esports, and Overwatch is a massive game in South Korea. So I understand kind of I understand why you'd choose NA first of all as like your primary market. This league is something that Bobby Kotick and Activision is putting together. They're North American. They know North American sports owners. Those are the first people that they signed on. They brought on, Robert Kraft was at BlizzCon 2 years ago because of North American connections. The advertising market here is particularly good. So I understand why they started with NA, and then I understand why they're kind of prioritizing Asia over Europe. It's unfortunate. Like, of course, in an ideal world, you're serving every region and doing broadcast hours that make sense for every region, and have teams, equal representation.
The dream.
I mean, that's of course that's what they wanted. It's just not very realistic, especially like they're looking for this $20 million buy-in. I know for a fact that European venture capital is a lot more tight. It's a lot less common for venture capital money to be just spent left, right, and center. So, down the road, I really hope that we do have a Paris team. I hope that we have a Stockholm team or Frankfurt or Berlin. Yeah. I hope we have it all. And I'm sure so does Nate, and I'm sure so does Blizzard and Activision.
I think it's one of those things where if there was an offer that came from any of the other European countries, I think we would see another Overwatch League in one of those other European countries. I just don't think there was. Like, there just wasn't any interest in this first season. So
yeah, and then the final point I'd say is, out of my traditional experience with like 98% of esports, is Europe is actually a bigger market in terms of viewing and watching and tuning into the broadcasts. That was actually never the case for Overwatch. NA was equally as big, or if not bigger, and you saw that with Contenders viewership. I mean, Contenders Europe didn't have even close to the viewership that Contenders NA had. So
yeah, but that was more of a product of what happened. I mean, there were no events in Europe. It's I don't know whose fault that. I mean, it could be just organizers' faults. Like ESL never did anything huge over there, or DreamHack never did Overwatch, right? Like,
they did one, but it was
a
14 tournament, or no, 16 tournament.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that now. But yeah, so I don't know if there actually are. I mean, there probably are people who want to watch Overwatch in Europe. They just never had a chance to, right? So, anyways, this is what the state of Overwatch is. Like you said, it's very NA focused and Asia focused. So that's where we are. Hopefully that changes. I think over time it will change. It's hard having a global league. I mean, we have never seen a global league. Like, we haven't seen that in even traditional sports, like actually having something that spans the world. Like, there's a reason why we haven't. So, this is going to be, like, very, very new, and it's going to be expensive too. But, it'd be awesome to see if we can pull it off, in Overwatch. Any thoughts on that, Flame? I mean, you've been quiet the whole time.
No, I mean, I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's not about sympathizing with Europe. Like, I definitely sympathize with Europe, but like, there's a limit. I mean, we are on the West Coast. Like, even for me, it sucks trying to stream at night, because most of my like viewership before I moved here was East Coast. And like, if I'm streaming now, it's already midnight for some of them. Like, there's a huge give and take when it comes to, what's doable. Like, there's a limit to what's accomplishable. And unfortunately, there's not a massive EU representation in the league for whatever reason. Like, people speculate, but like, they just didn't get the investors, or they didn't get the investors in time. And like, I'd be very surprised if there's not like a giant, like a massive push for European investors in the future. And then like, maybe the Atlantic and Pacific division, like those ideas like start mattering more. Like, even right now, I think like the way that it's split is like, the days are scheduled in such a way that like, you want, it is technically already catered. Whether or not that shines through is a different question. But like, we're waking up for like matches at like 10 some days, because like of matches that start at like 11, or like matches will start at 11. Like, that's on purpose so the Europeans can kind of watch.
Yeah, that's not a bad time for Europe.
Actually,
like Europe, like there's not like Blizzard is catering to them. Like, the league itself might not be catering to them in the concept of like, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of whatever representation in terms of teams, but from a timing perspective, like Blizzard is going out of their way to like make us wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning some days so we can get to the practice facility by like 10.
When does that happen? I mean, I'm looking at the schedule even for the first week. I mean, Saturday, I guess that's European friendly.
But that's the idea. Like some of the days are super not Asia friendly.
Yeah, true.
And
I mean,
like-
I think they purposely put like London early on Thursday. And,
Yes,
I mean
that
Florida
is-
too.
exactly,
Right?
yeah,
Florida's
exactly.
pretty much a
It's-
European team. There's plenty
it's
of
not-
European players to support, guys. Like it might not be the actual cities, but in the meantime, you can, support. Like Florida Mayhem would be a perfect team if you're European to support, right? Yeah. So to your point, yeah,
it's like they're
they
trying
are
their
doing
best.
something. Yeah,
Like,
they're
it's
doing
not-
something. Sure.
It's not like they're getting neglected.
Yeah. So
I want the Australian teams. I want another Australia land.
God.
I'm just gonna throw that in there for any Blizzard people watching.
okay, yeah, man. The
More
Aussies.
events in Sydney. I will probably.
There seems to be a lot of events in Sydney recently. So, but it's definitely a great city. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap things up. That's it for the show today. Flame, always a pleasure having you on, and Ben, of course, having you back is always a pleasure. But Flame, want to do any kind of shout outs before we take off?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to everyone who's been so supportive. I don't know. I feel like I haven't existed online in a while. Like my day has just been nonstop Overwatch, but that hasn't entailed playing or streaming. And I want to get back into it, but right now it's just not feasible. There's not enough hours in the day. Someone has to be at the facility with the players. My team's been sick for the past week, and it's crazy. It does feel like babysitting in a way sometimes, but it's not because they need it. It's because it's my responsibility to make sure that they're doing well, and I need to be there. And if coaches have gotten sick, I've been sick, literally everyone's been sick. If someone could get
daycare,
sick,
man.
I think
Everybody's getting sick.
anyone
One
that's been
person's
in
sick.
California in the past week or two
Yeah.
has been sick, and that's just.
Is it because of the
just the preseason.
fires? What is it? Just
I
you
mean,
guys
the
getting
fires.
into
The
it?
fires were definitely a factor in it. I'm not used to waking up and then suddenly there's just ash all over my backyard. That's not a normal thing.
Right.
But I think a lot of it was just all of these people from all these countries are coming into one room or one building for the first time. There was a lot of opportunity to get sick.
Germs everywhere.
I think one day the air conditioner just stopped working in the
Oh shit.
dugout area, so that was bad. 3 or 4 teams would be in there. I think there's 12 teams, so at minimum there were 6 teams in that one room at a time. Over the weekend, at least 6 teams shared the same room at least once. So there was a lot of opportunity to get sick during the preseason, and I think that's unlucky. But the point is that between the people being sick, the scrims, the fact that I don't have all the coaches here, there hasn't
You've
been a
been
lot
busy.
of time for me to be doing. I haven't been able to put myself first in a while, and I like it, I enjoy it. It's really fun. I think there's a lot of value in what I've been doing and what we've been getting done, and I hope it was all I just want it to all be worth it at the end, but it's been a lot.
It's gonna get better, dude. It's all. I mean, the beginning's always the most work, right? Once you get everything in place, once Tyrong's here, you get some balance, dude. You got to get balance. Definitely important.
For sure.
Ben, shout outs.
Oh, I got nothing, dude. I
God.
never have nothing. Never.
Wow. Yeah, there's just there's no events going on, that's for sure.
Go play Doomfist, I guess, is kind of better now. I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. You can follow me on Twitter.
Go play
Yeah,
Doomfist
that's
and
fine.
follow
Go
Ben
play
on Twitter.
Go play Doomfist and maybe in honor of ZP coming back next week, maybe. But next week, guys, we do have a special episode. It's gonna be on the overview will be on Wednesday. I just need to figure out a time with all the guys. But Nate's gonna be joining us. So
Is this the first time you announced it?
yeah.
We're gonna have Nate Nanzer on the show.
Yeah.
I actually want to shout out him and Blizzard if I have to shout out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The past week has been, or the past couple of weeks have been really, really hard. And I don't even say that jokingly. It's been very stressful. It's been a
Hard on them, you
nonstop.
mean? Or
Mhm.
hard on Blizzard, or you mean just like everybody? Okay.
But like
yeah.
it's been hard on Blizzard. It's been hard on like the players. Like you're seeing all these players like come out of the woodwork this week, like really stressed out, and like I don't know, they're not in the right mindset or whatever for whatever reason. But like Blizzard's done a really good job, I think, of like keeping everyone in line and like just like in the best shape that they can be in. And like Nate in particular has like helped me specifically, or like our team a bunch, like the past couple of weeks in terms of just like logistics, like different logistical things. And like it's actually insane how much work had to get done in such a short amount of time to like make that preseason even possible. And like they like knocked it out of the park, I think, and like that's like super impressive.
It's kind of easy to to forget that this
and like
is
and
the
also
most...
like get mad about stuff. Like people like get, well, where the hell was Blizzard here? Like, you know, like for whatever reason, like, but there's so many. There's a lot that went into everything.
People seem to forget really easily that this is the most ambitious esports league ever conceived of, and it actually started out pretty well.
People came into that place like every day and put that stage together like by hand. Like there's like so many moving parts to it that like nobody will ever see, or like
and not only that, there's so much pressure on them too. Like there are people wanting them to fail. So it's like I think you're right on you're right on point with that. So many hardworking people right now on that Overwatch League team. So anyways, can't wait to get a chance to talk to Nate all about just everything. It's been a while. I mean, we had him on like a year ago, I think. So there's going to be a lot to catch up on. Just a year later, it's just like, wow, this is pretty amazing a year later. So anyways, tune into that. Follow us on the Overview GG for, for when I announce the actual time for it on Wednesday. And then you can find the show, as always, on youtube.com/ChanManV, as well as all the audio channels like iTunes, Google Play, and soundcloud.com/ChanManV. But again, if you want to write into us, go ahead and email us the overview@chanmanv.tv, and we'll try to get those in next week during Q&A. But that's going to be it, guys, for this week. For Flame, Fishstix, and myself, ChanManV. We'll see you next week.